And we are live here to chat about tonight's episode of Arrow. Sorry, I was simultaneously tweeting about it while talking and doing my intro. I don't know, it's hard to multitask occasionally, not always. It's entitled Living Proof 7x21, season 7, episode 21. And I don't know why I have a headphone in my ear. It's not like I can hear anything, anyways. Tonight's episode is the second to last episode of season 7. So second last episode of Arrow ever, depending on how you look at it, depending on if you consider the 10 episode goodbye season to be real Arrow or not. I mean, it is, but you know, a lot of the characters we know and love may not be on it, and it's going to be quite short. It won't be full season anyway. Although the argument could be made that Arrow as a whole maybe would have been better if every season had only been 10 episodes. Much to think about. Tonight's episode was called Living Proof, and it was one of our classic episodes where Oliver has hallucinations, which they've had several now at this point where Oliver hallucinates things. We had, I think in season 2, an episode where he was hallucinating Shadow. We had the episode last season where he hallucinated Prometheus. We had an episode with the season with Prometheus where he had some sort of hallucination of some kind. So this has been a good few. But this one was him hallucinating Tommy, which again they've specifically had him hallucinate Tommy before even. But let me hear what you guys have to say about it before I jump in. Stormy in the chat says, "Loving your hair, Cammy." Thank you, Stormy. I had it way up in a bun and let it down, and 9 times out of 10 that looks like a mess, and then 1 time out of 10 it kind of looks like you meant to do that. Lisa says, "Hi, I give it a 3.75 on a scale from 1 to 5. That's our scale." She says, "I give it a 3.75. I found Tommy annoying." Ooh, interesting. I'm not alone in not loving the Tommy thing. I'm sorry, Lisa. You and me are on the same page. I saw so many people loving the Tommy return. I kind of get that. Like, I like Colin Donnell, and I thought Tommy was Tommy was actually a great character with a lot of potential. But the hallucinations of Tommy, the presence of Tommy is like they did like the Earth 2 Tommy, bad guy Tommy, whatever, right? I just have Tommy Jerry. Stormy says, "I love the scenes with Tommy and Oliver." Okay, so we got both sides of the equation. Let's see if we can balance that out. So there were some things that I liked about the Oliver and Tommy thing. So I liked real Tommy and Oliver's friendship. I suspect had real Tommy and Oliver been BFFs this entire time and Tommy had lived, actual Tommy would have started to annoy me because we would have got too much growiness. But I would have still liked to it's like that meme. I would like to see it. I would have still liked to see it because I think Tommy had a lot of potential, especially because he came from a villainy family but had such a fun and positive demeanor that would have just been kind of a fun thing. Also, I like Tommy and Thea fight me. There, I said it. Kate Johnson says, "I liked what they did with Tommy this time in the long run, but I'm not one to blindly love Tommy." Okay, maybe that's where I'm landing as well. Stormy says, "Dinah was the annoying one for me. She's crying about Roy, yet you were wanting him to go to jail." Lisa agrees. Dinah was always annoying. Dinah's writing is so inconsistent. I don't really, I'm not the biggest Dinah fan. I don't dislike Dinah. It just, she's just there, right? But if I were a fan of Dinah, I would be so annoyed with the writing of her this season. She's just all over the place depending on where the plot needs to be. Like, she barely knows Roy, and she and Roy are supposed to be having a heart-to-heart? What? For what? Explain. Explain it to Grandma. Why? Like, I don't know if they're trying to build some sort of, pre-existing romance thing for the final 10 episodes, if that's what it is, which is bizarre because I'm pretty sure Dinah's, 30 years older than Roy, so it couldn't be that. I don't know what it is if they randomly have them have a friendship, but, I don't know if that was a throw a dart at a dartboard type of friendship, and, person A and person B are going to be friends and, make it work or something, but it's not, that one's so weird to me. And we don't have enough time for that. We got even if we're counting the final 10 as like actual episodes, we got a handful of episodes left. This isn't the time to like make new friends. Like Roy's got friends, Dinah's got friends. Like everybody go mind their business. Anyways, Carrie says, if we don't like Tommy, are we really saying we don't like where Ollie's head is at? Because Tommy was a manifestation of Oliver's thoughts. Yeah, actually. And I don't always like where Oliver's head is at. So I liked the outcome, right, of the discussion with Tommy, where I liked the place where he finally got to where he was like, not, it's all so he was like, okay. Sorry, the episode wasn't that boring. I'm just yawning. I really don't think that where we ended was in a bad place. Oliver like learned a lesson about it's not all about, avenging his father's, doing right by whatever his father had done, and that he's not responsible for what his father's done, and, and the whole like surrounded by dead loved ones. But there was a message. An attempt was made. It was clear, but how we got there resulted in, and I know they have character regression, but it was just, I feel like Oliver's learned this lesson before, and this was just another chance for him to learn it again. I'm not hugely opposed to it. It wasn't as bad as, for example, last week's episode, but it was, there were a few moments that could have been trimmed. They could have trimmed the fat of it. Lisa says, I love Colin, but Tommy, I just think is done. Dinah, I don't get her at all. Yeah. They've really screwed up Dinah's writing in the last couple seasons. They could have just cut all the NTA members and gave the existing OTA plus the good characters way more plot time. And that would have been a way better service to the characters they had available. Matt Shamlo says, Dinah and Roy would make good-looking babies. I mean, they probably would, and by CW standards, that's the basis for a ship. So, like, you're not wrong. That's the bar, to be honest. Stormy says, don't you punish Roy with Dinah. That's me. I mean, Roy and Thea, I liked them together. It took me a long time to warm up to Roy and Thea. And even at the end of the day, I would still say I want Thea with me, not Roy, but I guess I'll give her up to Roy if I have to. Roy just kind of annoyed me early on, and then I came around to him. He's the opposite of Dinah, where Dinah early on, I was like, oh, okay, she's cool, like, best canary we've had so far. Didn't really need another canary, but, like, if we gotta, right? And then now I'm like, dear God, every time you make a misstep, I'm like, okay, we could do better, right? Like, I'm not paying too much attention to Dinah's scenes, but, like, we really could do better, huh? And then, like, they just get worse every time. Matt Shamu says, I don't know why I'm the only one who likes Dinah. Maybe it's crush. I like Dinah, like what she could be. I think she started off pretty great, like didn't blow me out of the water, but rose the bar a bit for that character type, I suppose. And for a while, when I was constantly trying to justify every choice they made with her by thinking they had a long-term plan, for example, her friendship with Diggle, and I'm like, okay, they've kind of written Diggle weird and isolated him from all his other friends to try to justify his friendship with Diggle, but I really feel like they have some, they're playing off each other's moralities, and they've got this long-term plan with the two of them. And it wasn't. It was just a way to integrate her into the team. So I really tried to excuse every single choice they've made with her, and now we're getting to the end of it. I'm like, it only got worse. And none of the excuses that I made for why every choice they've made for her could be good is good. So it's a struggle. Again, we've had way worse characters on Arrow, to be honest. At this point, it's just like we've got some mediocre characters who have inconsistent writing, who are taking up space in a very limited space, and that's more where she falls under. Not like what we've been through before. Kate says, well, Tommy wasn't completely random to the hallucination. They're way better characters. Yeah. Moira, I want to see them hallucinate her, although Susanna Thompson doesn't love us enough to come back, which is fair. We do not deserve it. Stormy says, I would rather have gotten rid of NTA seasons ago, give that screen time with OTA and Thea. If we could have gotten her to stay, we got some agreements in the chat. Yeah, a lot of people agreeing about Dinah being inconsistent. Carrie says, I'm future jumping, but how cool was it to see Alina with shorn locks in the future? I love the Lori Cody look. I loved her future look. Thank you for bringing that up. Huge highlight for me. Huge pro. I love seeing her show up in the future. I love that she stays sort of this anti-hero. Oh, I really need to stop yawning. It's been a long day. She stays this anti-hero driven, makes the tough choices type of hacker chick, and she's cool and she looks cool, and they aged her up really well, like really nicely. It looked really realistic compared to some of the other age up makeup, which I know it's easier on some faces than others. Some faces, it's hard to combine age up makeup and beauty makeup, and this is the CW, so frankly, they're doing both. So, Stormy says, love the scenes with Felicity and her kids in the future. We're really getting to see the Queen family in the future gel, which is really nice. And some of the, that scene between William and, Mia, where Mia was talking about, when I needed answers about what they were doing that was annoying me, I went to them directly, about the vigilante bit or whatever. Lisa says Alina is semi-evil, or is she still good? I don't think Alina is evil. I think she's been put in a tough position and has made some tough choices to protect people she loves. And frankly, every one of our heroes has done the same. And I really didn't like the implication that Dinah made in the future that Alina was to blame for her program being used against the Canaries. Alina didn't do that. Her program basically got stolen and held hostage. And it's only half her like it just yeah, I didn't like that. There's this weird implication that like if you can't stop something from happening, then you're responsible for it, that I feel like has surrounded a lot of the techie geniusy characters on these shows, which I don't buy into. Matt Shamlu says Alina was just money hungry and ended up getting in too deep. Yeah, kind of. But money hungry / just really wanted to be a part of this world and this invention and this creation, and she really believed in it and didn't want to let it go. Stormy says, so Alina saying she was tricked into giving away Archer to bad people. I could sue, but I'm not sure if I could trust it. I still love her scenes with Felicity. I do love her scenes with Felicity, but we have sort of established that Felicity does play off well / play well with villainy anti-hero characters, like Black Siren, for example. Black Siren was not particularly interesting or special of a character, but her scenes with, or like to me, was not necessarily particularly interesting or special. She's, she could have been, but she ended up being, given a reject, all my issues with Black Siren. Could have been great, was not great. However, her scenes with Felicity were pretty consistently interesting and good, so Felicity just has that power where she can kind of work with anti-heroes and villains and make them interesting and all that. Lisa says the CW is not morally responsible. That's just true. Like, I know there's more context to your statement, but it's your statement as a whole that the CW is not morally responsible. Fair. Valid. Brian Perez says, do you think Oliver should kill Emiko? I mean, at this point, like, do I in real life think somebody should do that? In real life, I'm a pacifist. In the context of the show, he absolutely should. Like, for the purpose of driving the plot forward, for the purpose of showing that he's not constantly trying to redeem every single person that pops in and out of his life anymore. He's not constantly trying to take responsibility for everybody else's actions, and he's choosing to defend his family. And yeah, I guess just not in real life. Matt says, in a past episode where Future, Dinah, and Renee speak, they talk about them actually fighting. Do you think that will be in the finale? God, I hope so. I want to see OTA fight NTA again. Like, end it. Sorry, so bitter. I'm kidding. I do think there will be some inter-team fighting going on in the finale, and it's probably going to end with a message of unity, and that's fine. It's fine. Carrie says, where do you see this Emiko endgame? She hasn't shown up or been mentioned in the future. Yeah, I see Emiko as just this one half-season villain. I don't see her as something they would really keep going through into the end of the future. I think that, if anything, the Emiko storyline has overstayed its welcome at this point. Emiko storyline, and I know I say this for the like every week for the last couple weeks, but it would have been really interesting like season 4. And at this point, it's just it's not the right season, not the right time. They don't have enough time to dedicate to it. Every bit of time they do dedicate to it could have been going to something else more important at this point. So it's just Lisa says, I hope she goes to Slabside as fast as Emiko goes. Matt Shamlin says, well, we've learned from where the Mark of 4 originated from Tommy. The Mark of 4 bit reminds me of that theory that you have, Stormy, that Oliver is in the future and that he was one of the wrestlers we saw in the background when Mia was introduced. Does anybody else have any other theories about what's going on going forward? Carrie says, Arrow Chat brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. God, I wish they would sponsor me. Wouldn't that be great? Basically, here's what happened. Okay, a little bit of Cammy rant. Okay, you know when you're so busy, you don't even have time to do what you need to keep yourself going forward? I was so busy today, I didn't have time to make myself a second cup of coffee in time. And by the time I had time to make myself and I mean any kind of make myself a second kind of coffee, like I didn't have time to throw instant mix, like most basic whatever, any kind of caffeine into a cup and mix it with some version of water at this point. I didn't have time to do any of that today other than like my first like initial cup of coffee in the morning. I know I'm caffeine addicted. That's my first mistake. I didn't have time to do that today until it was too late in the day to where like I think it was like after 5 because I couldn't get any work done until everybody else went home and stopped bothering me. Anyways, I didn't have time to do any of that until it was like 5, and then it was too late for me to actually have any caffeine. So I'm then forced to spend the rest of the day/evening tired, but it's too late to have caffeine, so you're stuck in that limbo. You guys understand? Do you guys understand? Please say you understand. Anyway, that's why I keep yawning during this, despite the fact that I actually really enjoyed tonight's episode. It was really interesting, and I stayed awake because I watched it on a treadmill. Matt Shamloo says, how do you think the monitor will be implemented in the finale? How do you think the monitor will be implemented in the finale? I don't know. I feel like I say this literally every season, but I feel like they have way too many storylines to wrap up. I know they have way too many storylines to wrap up in the finale. I know there's no way in 43 minutes they're wrapping all this up satisfactorily. Something's going to fall through the cracks. And for the last couple episodes, what's been falling through the cracks is Felicity's storyline. So I can only assume that other than the fact that they'll probably give her like a good 1 or 2 scenes of good like send-off material, that's what's going to fall through the cracks. We know what's going to happen with her anyways. Like she's leaving to protect her family and continue still doing some vigilante work. Not mad about it. It'll be cool. Stormy says, I think Monitor takes Oliver in the season finale. Possibly. So Oliver kind of gets taken. Felicity and family go into hiding. William's still gone. Roy takes over the team. I can see that happening. Carrie says, Matt, my guess is Monitor will choose Ollie to serve his cause somehow, and Ollie will live outside the timeline. Interesting. Living outside the timeline. Stormy says next season feels like it would be mostly in the future storyline. I hope next season's mostly in the future storyline centered around the future trio of William, Connor, and Mia. Also JJ. It's like a trio and a half. We haven't seen much of JJ, but I'm willing to count him in there, and I suspect there will be like drama about it. We already discussed that. We won't get into it. I only have 1 more minute. What would you guys like to see in the finale? I would like to see an effective wrap-up of all storylines for characters who won't be in the final 10 season, and by that I mean Felicity. I would like to see a clear wrap-up of some of the villains so we don't make the same mistake we did last time where we have villains not wrapped up and forced into the next season when they don't need to be in the next season and there's way better ideas that they could do. Brian Prez says, how do you predict the final episode of Arrow next week will end? Sad. I predict it will end sad. But maybe after the 10 episode run, it'll end kind of happy. Matt Shamloo says, Emiko with 2 arrows in the chest. Stormy says, I want as much OTA, Elicity, and Felicity with her kids as I can. Yeah, that would be nice. I still think it's going to end sad. Like, it's going to end with goodbyes. And then we'll see reunions, obviously, in the future. But, you know, maybe they'll be able to take off some of the sadness that way. Yeah, I hope they do a lot of OTA because it's kind of their last chance to do so. Lisa says, I'm so sad with how they're treating Felicity Smoke so far. Yeah, they just... I mean, that's on them, honestly. You can't... Like, it's a help me, help you situation. If they had focused more on their key characters that everybody cares about, I think this season would have been much stronger. And I don't think that the season was terrible. I just think it could have been better. Carrie says, give me a group hug. Damn it. A group hug would be fantastic in the finale. Axis says something in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish, sadly, but I believe one of those words is sister. And sister was a key part of tonight's plot. I do know that. That's about as knowledgeable as I can get. Stormy says, hopefully Emily pre-taped some things for season 8. I think it's possible, or she can come back for the series finale. Matt says, I could definitely see Arrow ripping off Endgame with Oliver, if you know what I mean. Dun dun dun. No Endgame spoilers, but yes, I could see that. Lisa says, I hope that she's taped some extra scenes. Yeah, I'm sure Emily will pop back in. I mean, she lives up there like most of the time anyways. Or just know she's got other projects going on, so she's not going to do it full time. Well, we are 2 minutes over time, so I'm going to let you guys go. But thank you, as always, for joining me on our second to last episode of Arrow ever. Thank you for putting up with all of the yawns. And I will talk to you guys next week for the final episode, 7x22, entitled You Have Saved This City. I'm excited about it, I guess, a little bit. Brian says in the chat, Eris Hermosa in English means that they're saying that you're beautiful. Aw, that's awesome. Thank you. Oh, you guys are beautiful too. Lisa says ciao. Ciao.